Do you want to bring balance to all the wireless radiation fields in your life, including 5G? The OMNIA Radiation Balancer is a small sticker you can stick on any device. It changes the state of the field and creates a new resonance between the wireless radiation and your energy field. On the link below, you'll see all our testing results that show how the body responds excellently once you've made this change in your life. And here's a special offer for the Journey to Truth crowd. Just enter the word truth in caps at the checkout for your 10% discount. It's easy to bring balance back to your body with the OMNIA Radiation Balancer.
All right, guys, welcome back. How's it going tonight? A few things before we get started. We've been people have been reaching out asking us where else they can find us because we were removed from Spotify for reasons that they won't disclose, but we didn't realize how many listeners we actually had on Spotify. People were reaching out like, well, where else can we find you? So just to give you guys a heads up, we are available also on Rumble, Foxhole, Pill.net. What else there? iTunes, Apple Podcasts, SoundCloud, Stitcher, Podbean. Am I missing any? I know there's more, right, Aaron?
BitChute also.
BitChute,
Some
yeah.
of it's on BitChute.
Either way, there's just give you guys a heads up, places you can find us. And also we're on Telegram, Facebook, Instagram. If you guys want to follow us on social media, for those who don't already do that. Promo codes for our lovely products. We have a Hopewell Farm CBD. If you guys are looking to try a new CBD oil, I highly recommend trying Hopewell Farm. They have just about as much THC as legally possible in their CBD, but it's really good stuff. It's my favorite. And you can get 10% off of that with promo code Journey to Truth 10. That link is below. You guys just saw the OMNIA commercial, 10% off that with promo code TRUTH, all caps. And then all of our Teespring merchandise is 15% off with promo code CGI Joe. And we just uploaded a new shirt for our new conference that we are hosting next spring, the Secret Space Conference, May 2nd through the 5th in Grafton, Illinois. We have not announced any details yet, but those are coming soon, so stay tuned. But you can get on our Teespring and purchase that t-shirt if you wish. All right. That being said, welcome to the show, Suzanne. Tonight, we're joined by Suzanne Spooner. Guys, if you don't know who she is, she's a QHHT practitioner. We actually discovered her through Mark Demizio. We had him on. Mark, you guys know him as Mark D. We had him on, I guess, a month or so ago. And Suzanne's been working with him, helping him retrieve his memories. So through talking to Mark, we discovered Suzanne, and now here she is. And we're going to get into some really interesting stuff today. How's it going over there, Suzanne?
It's going really well. Thank you for having me. I'm happy to be here.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Been looking forward to this. And I guess just for our audience and the people who aren't aware of who you are, can you just give us a brief background on how you found yourself getting into this stuff and, where it's taken you?
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm a QHHT level 3 practitioner. QHHT is quantum healing hypnosis technique. It was created by the late, great Dolores Cannon, who spent decades in the hypnosis world. She perfected this technique. It's amazing. It's life-changing. And it's a great honor to carry on her work. I learned how to do this about 10 years ago and just took off running with it. I ended up assisting Dolores and her daughter, Julia. When Dolores transitioned, I took over with Julia teaching. We went all around the world until COVID. And I'm also the director of the QHHT Global Forum of Practitioners, which is a wonderful community. And I see clients every week. So I'm very busy with what I do and love to be sharing the information that I find.
Yeah, and it's also interesting that Dolores is from St. Louis, where we're from.
Yeah,
So,
she was.
yeah. And I happen to know a practitioner here who was also personally trained by Dolores, and I've had a session with her, and it really is different having a session in person. I've had about 5 regression therapy sessions, whether it's QHHT or whatever the person wants to call it. I've had about 5 of them now, and 2 of them were in person, and the one in particular with this woman I'm talking about now might have been one of the most powerful ones. And I don't know, do you do remotely, or is it all in person?
No, I only do in person. Dolores was really set that this needed to be one-on-one, and through COVID and all that, there's been a lot of debate. I'm sure there are some that are doing it remotely, but I will tell you this, there is nothing like being one-on-one with somebody and sharing that space and that energy. People open up more. The practitioner can read the client easier as far as, facial expressions and things like that. It's kind of like, like, this is great. It's nice to be able to, through a screen, be connected to you both and to your audience. But, if we were sitting together in a coffee shop, it would be even better, because we're literally sharing that energy together. And this work is just very deep and transformational and personal. And on top of technology issues that can come up in a session, if you're doing it remotely, it's a very sacred time, I view it as. And I want my clients to get the very best that they can. And as far as I can determine in all of my experience, it's best one-on-one.
Yeah, I don't disagree. I've had the remote sessions that have been just as beautiful as well, and we're not knocking anybody who does that, because,
right.
Especially with these times, like, it's not easy, it's not easy, and travel is kind of out of the question. And sometimes somebody wants to see you from the other side of the world, and they don't really have that option. So
Right.
it's all of the above is good. Just it's depending
Right.
on what you need. So, okay, let's get into the fun stuff. So where has this, what has doing these sessions, how should I word this? So with doing these sessions, where has this taken you as far as your journey, your awakening, your beliefs? Did you start this with the awareness of a secret space program, or did that come through your clients? How did this look for you?
Okay. Well, so that's a couple of them right there.
Yeah, I know.
Well, okay, let's go forwards. As far as the secret space programs go, I've had Mark. Mark was my client over 5 years. When I first met him, I knew about them. I'd had a few clients in different ways that had been associated with that situation, not like Mark had. So with that, I was kind of learning as I was going with him. And as you know, he is such a humble and honest person. And when he reached out to me and he had this confusion and this time missing, and I wanted to help him. When I go into any session, when people have ideas of things that have happened to them, in my head, I'm thinking it could have happened, it might not have happened, and it can be different than what they remember. And my goal is to help them uncover the truth. So he and our association and the 3 sessions that we have done and the connection that we continue in between sessions has taught me a lot. So I really appreciate that. And what I've learned in my almost 10 years of doing this is that everything is possible. When I began this, I hope then, as I am now, I was just this wide open sponge of learning about all these different lifetimes and possibilities and timelines and realities. And every session I learned something new about it. Now, one of my most favorite parts of my job is I get to sit with the parts of the clients that know everything, that we sometimes call the subconscious or the high self. So typically they're first going to see a lifetime, a past, future, simultaneous. It can be all of that. That lifetime is picked by their, I'll call it the high self, to help them understand something in their life more deeply, give clarity. And then we do the segue over to that part of them, the high self. It's them, just this part of us that knows everything that our society purposely doesn't teach us about, that knows everything. And from there, we start asking questions that the client has come into the session with. And this is what I think I'm good at, is that I'm really great at asking questions. And I want to get deeper knowledge for them, because we're recording it for them to be able to listen to time and time again to help them uncover more about their truth. So, I feel like I go to school every session I give, because I get to have these great conversations with the high selves and ask them about any topic under the sun. And it's pretty fascinating, the information that I've received over all these years.
Yeah, and I do want to get into some of that information, especially the stuff that's coming through on current times. But before we get there, something that actually intrigues me the most is the idea of screen memories. When people are going back into their memories, such as Mark and other people, I know sometimes the first place we tend to go is not actually a memory, but it's a screen memory covering the actual event. And this can become confusing, because now you have people who are going to this place thinking that this may have happened to them when it may not have. And how do you get past that screen memory, and how do you know if it's a screen memory?
That's a really good question. I think, if you're talking about, say, someone has a memory of something that has happened to them, or they know that they had missing time and they know what was happening right before that missing time occurred. Our left analytical minds like to try to analyze the heck out of it. And I think that's where things get a little wonky, because we'll tend to wrap a little fear into it. And, we might not remember that as clearly as it happened. So we're kind of polluting that memory a bit with fear. So when you help somebody to get into that nice, relaxed state of hypnosis, and you move past that left side of the brain to this right side, which holds all the knowledge, you just start asking the questions. And it's really interesting, because sometimes that part of them will say, well, they remember that right. They don't remember that right, but we get beyond that fear so that we can get to the truth of it. And, for each person, it can be different. But I think the screen memories are more what we hold on to not let go of what happened, to try and figure it out. It's just that, in our society, we've been taught to wrap some fear around that, and that can make that memory kind of wonky.
Yeah.
We can dive in.
Yeah, it's confusing, to be honest, because, we hear from some of these guys, like some of these screen memories are not from ourselves, but they're implanted by these programs. So you can't actually know what happened. And you just go back to this one place, and it's like a false memory or something. That's what I'm interested in getting past. How do we know what's implanted and what's not? You might not have the answer to that, but it's something I think about, Can
I give you a really cool example?
Please.
So I have a client. She's amazing. I can't say what her job was. This session is out, by the way. I think it's called the Alien Invasion We Don't Recall, or something like that. It's within the last year. And in her job, she came back from this job with 3 different timelines. And one of her questions in her session was, which one of these timelines is right during this period, or are none of them right? And it was really interesting. I mean, it was a real wide range of memories on these 3 timelines. And so when we got her in, it was amazing. it was the most fantastical timeline of the three, but there was so much more information that we were able to uncover once she was in that deep relaxed state. So, and she was the recipient of more than one mind wipe. So it's amazing what we can hold on to when it's being encouraged for us not to remember.
Yeah. It's not easy. It's definitely confusing. But thank you. That is a good example. So, what happens now is you have people like Mark. So I keep using him as an example just because I know you work with him. But you recover these memories now. You retrieve these memories, and now you have a form of PTSD. And if you were tortured or whatever may have happened, how are you coping with this now? What kind of tools do we have that these people can actually heal from this stuff now? Because that's kind of the whole purpose sometimes that we even remember in the first place, is so we can heal it.
Right. So there's a couple ways I'd like to answer that. Hopefully, if folks are having these memories and they decide to use hypnosis as the tool to retrieve them, in best case scenario, the practitioner doesn't lead, doesn't take them down the journey that the practitioner thinks they should go down, because that can be harmful. You want to make sure that the questions are very open-ended, so that the client can tell their story through their words. Then afterwards, with Mark, he's a beautiful example in that, because this high self part of us loves us unconditionally and will only give us what we're ready to receive. I think it was the end of his first session, I was trying to get as much information for him as possible, but his high self finally said, we've got to stop. You can't handle it anymore. And when I get that, I understand we've hit the limit, and back up. Now, Mark was just exceptional because he took what he gave himself in that session and used it to keep uncovering. Some people might just shut down and say that was too much and I can't do it. Now, I know with this work, they only receive what they can handle. Mm-hmm. I truly believe that. I can't say that about all different types of hypnosis. I only know this one very, very well, but I trust that. And when he was ready, he wanted to come back in again. Typically, we don't do that. Typically, people just come in for one session. But, sometimes that's a great thing to do is, after some time has evolved and they've had time to percolate on what they gave themselves, let's see if there's more that we can get. And that's how Mark has just done this fabulous job over these 3 sessions and in between. Even up till recently, I just talked to him this weekend and he's uncovering more memories. So it's a process. And I think people just need to be really gentle with themselves with the information and stay grounded with their life where they're at and not take it too fast.
Yeah. I agree. Exactly. Don't take it too fast. And sometimes, like I said, we're not ready for it. And Mark wouldn't have been pursuing it if on some level he didn't think he was ready for it. He did it because he knew. Aaron, do you remember what episode that was? What number?
Mark?
Was Mark? Yeah.
I do not. Somewhere in the 120s, maybe.
Yeah. If you could find that.
Was it like a couple months ago?
Yeah, just for the people listening, if they wanted to go back and listen to his episode with us, that was actually his first time coming forward publicly. So it was really, I mean, if you guys want to see, what that looks like from somebody who finally gets enough courage to come forward and share their story like that, it's a really powerful episode.
Yeah, warning, it gets very dark.
Yeah,
it can be triggering probably to some people, but it's very powerful.
Yeah, exactly.
So, yeah.
Okay, so let's get into the fun stuff. What kind of information is coming in about like the current times right now, all down to the virus, the jab? a future outlook, whatever it may be.
Yeah. Okay. So that's one of the coolest parts of my job is over all these years, they've been talking about this current time that we're in. We just didn't, because we hadn't been there yet. We didn't know exactly what they were sharing with us. But, it's all, they say it's a part of the Great Awakening. We're creating everything that's going on. So the chaos that we see on the outside, they say, is the chaos that we're feeling on the inside. We're just reflecting it out. So you can kind of see where we're all at with everything. They say currently the questions that have been coming in give the answers that about the events that are going on is that it's going to not get better. It's going to get worse for a while. The latest I've had over the last few weeks is that it's going to last for a couple of months. So I would assume going fall into spring, it's going to look pretty weird. Mm-hmm. And what they're saying though is if we can just stay centered, know that everything's playing out the way it's supposed to. And that's what they say. Everything's on track. Nothing has gone haywire. But what is happening is helping wake people up. And for as crazy as it gets, that's how crazy it needed to be in order to do that. As far as the jab goes, they're saying, I would say almost unanimously when that question comes in, the highest selves say that it's not beneficial. Mm-hmm. That even the people that were putting the ingredients in it weren't necessarily aware of how bad it was going to be for the people receiving it. Although there are, obviously some who knew exactly what they were doing with it. Most importantly, they're saying if you've had it and are regretful that, or if you feel like you have to have it in order to live your life, there are ways to transmute it. That's really important to understand that we have the power within us to do this.
Yes. And I'm sure people are going to want to know what that is or how they can do that.
Yeah, it's amazing. One of the many cool aspects of QHHT is folks will come in with questions about their body and health. And so we spend a portion of that time at the high self going through the body and asking questions about this. And this is where this usually comes out. Now, what they'll say about any illness that we create is our thoughts, our beliefs, and our experiences create disharmony within the body. And all we are is energy in these unique, dense forms. And as energy, we create it. As energy, we can heal it. And that's what happens in these sessions. It's just normal for people to heal themselves of anything. But our heads have to stay on track with the new ways of thinking, doing, and believing in order to hold that healing. It's not a magic wand. So as we were talking before we started recording, this one of these last sessions I gave, it's the last session I put out. It's, an oracle's in the title. Insights from Past and Current, I think it was. She gives very detailed information about how to transmute any medicine that goes into us. She gives, actually, I was thinking about this, we didn't mention this. She literally gives a script about instituting this green healing light going into the body. And on one of my Facebook groups, somebody today just typed it all up, just right there, I'll send it to you. But it's in that session. I want to say, if you want to get to that session on my YouTube channel, it's somewhere between an hour and 25 minutes and an hour and 35 minutes of that oracle session where that's discussed.
And we'll remind me afterwards, and I'll put that link in below so people can just find it, because I haven't gotten the jab, but I'm curious because I want to know so we can let people know this. It's not, all hope isn't lost,
Right. All hope is not lost at all, but it's really important that we stay focused on that we're healed, not that, oh gosh, I hope that worked. There's a big difference there.
Sure.
Yeah.
Sure.
Exactly.
So, okay, going back into this information coming in now. I remember, I don't know if it came through one of Mark's sessions or something, talking about, we talk about New Earth and 5D and the split, and like by the election, and then the jab is like a test, and it's a choice being made. Like if you choose to vote for this person, and if you choose to get this jab, you're choosing one timeline, and it's like a subconscious choice on which timeline we're choosing, the 3D timeline or the 5D timeline. Does that align with what you're hearing from other people?
To a degree. I mean, I think there's still time for people to change.
Yeah.
You know, heck, you want to go into fear and just have that whole fear experience, you can jump the track and get over. I don't think many of us are going to do that. But, I think the hope is waking up as many as possible. And for some, the world is shook up right now, and it's going to probably increase. So unfortunately for us humans that have dealt with duality for a long, long time, that's what shakes us up. That's what helps us see more clearly. So I totally agree with the train going down two different tracks, and which one are you on? And and the kind of, when you see things the way we do, it's so interesting to see, whoa, wow, I really thought they'd be on this one, but they're over on that one. And that's okay. I mean, and here's what I truly mean with all of my heart: no judgment. Those that are choosing to be in fear, or, they just love the vaccine and they love Dr. Fauci, that's their soul's path. They are learning what they need to learn for them. It's just that it's so obvious right now where most people are. And when you can kind of detach a little bit and take a look, it's more interesting than fearful.
Yeah, I agree. I think people still have a choice. Like, I agree. Because some of us are being forced into it against our will. I guess you always have a choice, but sometimes it's not that easy. You never know. The circumstance is different for every single individual. And we can all say, I'll never get it, but we all have a breaking point also. And you never know what situation you might find yourself in to where it might seem like the better option to get it. And in that case, we need to know what we can do to transmute it and not have to think, oh shit, it's over, right. Because that's just not the way it should be, obviously. So
and it's kind of fun too to think that, okay, so let's just say that the intention was malintent with the shots, but that if we can turn it around and make it something super great, take that.
Yeah,
exactly.
It's true.
Well, it's super great anyway, because it's like you said, it's waking people up. It's this catalyst for change and growth and waking people up. And it's kind of like forcing people to think, and like the people that are ready to wake up, it's kind of like, it's like this big catalyst to get them to make that jump, or to start thinking for themselves and be like, wait, what do I believe? This is what's being told to me by the media and everyone else. You need to get it. It's good. It's going to protect you. But what is it really? And it starts them on that journey of like finding truth for themselves,
Absolutely. I mean, think where we were, a lot of us were at, in late 2020, we were just hamsters on the wheel, and, just getting through life. And, it took that to open a lot of people up. And I think that's exciting.
Yeah.
Yeah,
it is. I mean, it is exciting, but we're not, I know a lot of people are going through some stuff right now. So we're not saying like it's exciting that people are suffering.
But obviously, it's hard. It's a massive, it's a seemingly negative thing. Obviously it's hard. Some people are in fear. But then it's like, well, it also gets you to face your fears and face all those things. And like, well, do you prioritize comfort and what people think of you over what you know is best for you, or your own sovereignty?
Yeah,
it gets you on that track.
Yeah, it's true. Yeah, it's all about disarming the ego and what you're really here for. I think, you said things are probably going to look worse before they get better, which I can't disagree with, because if you really pay attention to, like, there's an order of operations here. And if we want to see, a positive shift, certain things have to happen, and it's not going to be pretty. And it's kind of like across the board, even through other channelers and other information. I like to listen to it all, just keep an open mind. But that's kind of across the board. It's like, be ready for some rough times in the near future here. So I don't know what that's actually going to look like, and we don't try to push doom and gloom and fear and all that stuff. And I say this all the time: it's not about what's necessarily going on in the world, but it's how we respond to it, and it's up to us to stay positive and hold that stance, hold our stance, our positive stance throughout this, and be that anchor of light for the people who are around us, for the people around us who may not be as strong. So if any of us have the ability to do that, that's what we should be doing right now. Because so many people reach out, like, what can we do right now? Like, everybody feels like they're just waiting. Like, what can we do in the meantime? And I said, somebody messaged me the other day. I was like, keep creating music, keep healing people, just keep doing what you're doing right now. And she was like, do you think our collective consciousness could, like, change the outcome? And I said, absolutely. Like, it can. If we all just know that we're going to defeat this and pull through and enter this, like, brighter future, then it's going to happen. You create your own reality.
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So was there any specific information? Sorry, I'm just trying to get stuff out of you. Is there any specific information that was coming through about these times? Like, I know it's scary to share, like, dates and stuff, but
Yeah, they usually don't, because we're changing it all the time with our collective, right? And I think that's why, back when I started, they're like, okay, buckle up, it's going to get really weird, down the road, and in this great awakening, and I was thinking, oh gosh, like earthquakes and volcanoes and things like that, and like, holy heck, I did not think it was going to be a virus and presidential election gone weird and all that. So specifically, I mean, there's a lot of questions about President Trump. And do you want me to go there? Or
yeah,
no?
yeah, actually, I do. I would love to hear that. Yeah.
Well, in almost every one, they will say that either he's still in power or that he will be back. Just the most recent one I said, or I did the session, she said it's looking like maybe he won't be. So, I give this information, but, truly in all hypnosis, you're dealing with both the left and the right side of the brain. And sometimes that left side can come up with their own opinions. So, there's always a little room there. Right. Mm-hmm. But, I really feel hopeful for where we're headed. I think, as we've heard many times through this crazy era, everything has to kind of crash to get rebuilt. And I think we're just in the midst of everything coming down. And I have a dear client who's just an amazing intuitive on her own. She's there's a series of sessions that we've done. I think we've done 3 that are out on my YouTube. She's it's not her high self that comes through. She calls herself the designer of our reality simulations.
The architect.
So, like Mark, with her, I had to try to understand the information she was giving to ask questions, and it was pretty mind-boggling. But she and I were talking just a couple of weeks ago, and she's receiving a lot of amazing information. And she said, the designer, whomever, are just saying, it's time to step up. We light workers. She says, some of us are just like sitting around waiting for the ships to come down and pick us up, and like, oh, we just have a ride up, and now we're in 5D and it's great. And they're like, no, you were put on this planet to do some big work, stop being lazy, get out and do what you're here to do. And I think that was a little bit of a wake-up call. It's
mm-hmm.
whatever you feel you're called to do to help, if it's write music or play music or talk to your neighbor or, stand in your truth. This is the time to be doing it. You need to put action behind what your purpose is.
And one thing's for sure is spiritual advancement doesn't just get handed to you. Like, you have to work for it. And that's why we're here. There's karma from past lives that we have to pay off and do. There's lessons to be learned, and there's a mission, and whatever that mission is, it looks different for each person. And sometimes, like we just recently discussed, Aaron, it's just about being you and being here in general. And obviously,
just being here is affecting. Yep.
And obviously, we don't just want to sit here and just be. We want to assist. So anything you're doing towards the positive timeline is your mission. And obviously it's going to look more specific for some people. Some people know and remember why they're here. Other people don't. But it's that, like Dolores Cannon says, what good is a test if you know the answers? So I forget where I was going with that whole rant. I do want to go back to, that's where I was going. The spiritual advancement doesn't just get handed to us. We're all here growing.
Yeah. And spiritual growth comes through struggle and adversity. I mean, mostly. Yeah. So think of it as it's a blessing if you think of it that way, it's like, and if you can get to the point where you can think of it as a blessing, that shows where you're at spiritually alone, because there's obviously many people that aren't at that level on the planet, and things like this cause fear and they want to run from it. And that's it. It's like, how do I escape this? How do I
fight or flight?
How can we just fix this as soon as possible and then get back to normal, get back to what's comfortable and safe, but really it's about like transformation through this process.
Exactly. It's like the shittier life you've had, the more growth you're doing. I mean, seriously, like some of the people going through the hardest times, and it's up to them because it is what you make of it, right? It can be a teacher, or you can just let it beat you down. But if you let it be your teacher and you look back in your whole life, you could say, man, I had a really shitty life. Or you could say, thank God I went through all that, because I would never be the person I am today if none of that happened.
Exactly.
And that's where a lot of us are right now. And there's wisdom that comes from that cannot be taught to anyone.
Yep.
And you take that wisdom and then you help the people around you, and you can give them advice, and are they going to take it or not? It doesn't matter. Sometimes something your parent told you when you're 10 years old, they're beating it into your brain. It didn't make sense until you were 30. I'm like, oh, now I know why they were telling me that. You still
when they're ready,
planted the seed. Yeah.
Plant the seeds. Yep.
Exactly. So going back to the Trump, just because there's a lot of, I was just wondering if any information came through on like who he is as far as a white hat or a black hat or whatever. There's people that say he's no better than the rest of them. He's a reptilian and he's a Zionist and blah, 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 blah. And there's a lot of confusion there. I know we shouldn't be looking for an external savior like that, but I'm very curious to see if any of that information came through.
Yeah, really the most interesting of that information came through in a session almost immediately after the election in 2016. And literally days. The session happened on 11/11/2016 at 11 a.m. It's just too many 11s to forget that one. And, so it's days after when the client came in, he and I did not discuss the election at all. No questions about it, no discussion about it. We just did a session. But towards the end of the session, and this clip is on the YouTube too, it's a real funny one because it gets comments still constantly. He starts talking about Trump. And he's, at that time, he says, he is an ascended master, but he's also a human. And he's going to have to decide, does he rule from his ego or does he rule from his high self? And there's going to be a lot of people that are trying to help both sides of that. And it's going to be ultimately what he decides to do, which is going to help the outcome, but that he was here to help change everything. That's his role. And he may not, through time, it's so that he may not be the one that finishes the job, but he's definitely the one that's making it very apparent to most of us what has been happening in the past that no longer needs to be there.
Yeah, yeah. Thanks for sharing that. It's well put. And that makes sense because like we know, and not everyone's perfect. We're all human, whatever. And there's ego. Everybody has ego, everybody has ego. And some people it's more prominent than others. So, and we've seen it come from Trump. We've seen it come from him. So it'd be curious to see what things look like going forward. But it's good to hear that, that I believe that too, that he's some sort of ascended master. People have looked at him and seen like a Christ light around him, stuff like that. I know like whenever they first moved into the White House, they smudged it because there was all these satanic relics and all this dark energy there. And that's the first thing they had to do. And we wouldn't be hearing about that if it was another president, somebody else wouldn't come in and do that. So, and I think Melania was behind that. I don't even remember where I read that, but I remember reading something along those lines. But I definitely think that that's the case. And obviously he's not the only person. There's going to be all of us. It's going to be all of us eventually. It could be all of us right now that actually start doing what he's doing. We're just not in politics, but thank God we're not because, will we really want to live that lifestyle?
Well, I think that, that gets back to that message that, we have to start living our purpose and doing what we're here to do and not sitting back on our laurels and waiting for it to happen for us. We can all help in our own way and raise that vibration and frequency to make that shift.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, exactly.
Changing it up again. So I'm sure you have all kinds of clients come in who are experiencers, abductees, SSP people who've been in the programs, whatever it might look like. What about yourself? Have you had experiences?
Oh, wow. Nobody has ever asked me that.
Really?
No.
Well, I mean, it would only make sense to me that you're drawn to this type of work. Mm-hmm. If you weren't an experience, you would almost have to be an experiencer to me.
Yeah. I'm really open to it. I had some really cool experiences. Gosh, okay, let me pull them out of my head. One of the coolest ones was I was asleep. I woke up and I remember I was on my stomach and I was looking to the side and my first thought was, okay, those are ETs. and I went, and I think I'm all cool with that, but I had sleep paralysis. I couldn't move anything. And I've had sleep paralysis before, but in that moment it freaked me out. And I was fighting the sleep paralysis. And I remember hearing, "You're fine. Just let us do this work." And I'm like, okay, that's cool. And I'm still, I think I feel like my head is where my feet were. I mean, I feel like I've been turned around. And, but on my going down the center of my back, I feel it's like a sewing machine going down, like a tapping. And I remember thinking, well, that's really weird. I hope that's helpful. Yeah. So
interesting. When did that happen?
It was probably just about a year ago.
Oh, okay.
Oh, wow.
So now one of the things that I do is I channel. I have my own process. It's called the Art of Universal Knowing, or the acronyms TAUK, TAUK. So after that, of course, I start to use that process to find out what in the heck just happened. And it was a very funny message. It was those that were there with me, and they're like, "You weren't supposed to wake up, but you did, and you've always wondered, what this is like. So we decided, you could be aware. We didn't think you would freak out so much, but we were doing an upgrade on your DNA, and that was the punching that you were feeling in the back of your spine. All is well." And, as soon as it was over, I was like, dang it. I wish I wouldn't have freaked out. I wish I would have stayed home with that. Come back. I promise I'll be calm.
Hindsight, it's always better. You always know what you wish you would have done.
It's like Ken Rolla when he's like asking for the contact, and he Like, we told you you'd be scared.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, you were right.
So that actually corroborates that there's something that happened to me. Like, exactly. I just spoke about this at ECETI, but one of my experiences, found myself on a table and they were working on my spine. And through a session, a Reiki session that I had, the healer got a message that they were basically working on my spine, upgrading me, infusing like some type of crystalline structure, DNA in with my spine, basically to help us evolve, because our bodies aren't just going to do it on their own right now. We need some assistance. And very similar to what you described. And maybe you're the second person who's told me something like that also. So
cool.
It makes me wonder if they're just doing it to all of us,
Yeah. Oh, I'm sure you feel this way too. All the help we can get, I'm open for, because, in sessions, they'll often say, there's so many shits out there and we're all watching you and we're all rooting on, and Dolores would say, if you're in a physical body at this time on earth, you've got the golden ticket. Everybody wants to be here for this shift and you should be grateful for it, not, damning what's going on around you. You should be very grateful to be here. But these upgrades are, I think, essential, especially, as, people are waking up in stages. So, there's going to be sleepyheads that are coming way down the road that those of us that are aware and, got our bearings about us, about being, closer into this 5D, what that's like to help others, that we have to, put our mask on before we can help others. So this is why it's important that we discover our truth within us at this time. And
just to clarify, you don't mean the mask for the virus.
Oh no, I mean like the.
Yeah.
Sorry.
No. I know you didn't.
No,
but somebody will hear that and be like,
mask.
why is she?
Oh yeah, we'll get comments.
Yeah,
we still get comments even after clarifying.
Yeah. Wow. Sorry about that one. Yeah. No. No.
Oh man, now I lost my train of thought. I had a really good segue. I was going to take that somewhere. So is there any information that comes through about actual disclosure, like ET disclosure, technology disclosure? I mean, these are questions that people ask us all the time in the comments. Why didn't you ask them about this? Why didn't you ask them about this? I'm like, because we ask everybody and nobody actually knows. But if we're here, let's hear what's coming through,
they say often that it's happened, are your eyes open to it? Are you relying on a source of authority to tell you this, or do you know it? And I think that's the difference between two different types of people right now. I guess, it's nice for it to be acknowledged, but I think we all know it's happening, that they're here, that we are them, that they're among us. So, I tend to go from that perspective that, I understand that there's all sorts of dimensions around us that we're in and out of, can feel, can be aware of, can see in some cases. So I think that announcement of disclosure in a way is limiting. And it's more of I don't want to say like a 3D way of accepting, but I think we have to use our internal knowing to understand any topic. And I think that's what we're discerning better. So I think they're here, and
they're here.
They are. Yep.
Well, the whole wanting the mainstream media to tell us is a joke, because the whole time we've been doing this show is us telling people to stop listening to the news, turn your TV off.
Yeah.
And then you have all these people in ufology getting mad because the news isn't telling us what we want to hear. I'm like, well, what did you really expect? And then also why do we really want that disclosure? Is it because of ego? Do we want to be able to say, I told you so? And, tell everybody to call us crazy. Yeah, that would be nice. But at the same time, it's also it's giving your power away to an external source. It's the same way. It's that external validation that we don't necessarily need. Because if you know, then you know, what's it matter if, somebody else knows, I guess.
Or they're talking about it on the news, or the governments are saying, why does it matter?
And if you want to take it a step further, if we're all one, like we discuss often, if we're all one, then the external source is you. So it has to come from you anyway. So once you get to that place of knowing, you're already affecting that in a weird way. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
So
can I share a little story with you guys?
Of course, that's why you're here.
Okay, so this is a fun one. So I had a couple come to have sessions. So one day, one the other day. He was really into Dolores and QHHT and got this. She couldn't care the slightest about any of it. I don't even know why she came initially. But she was, I had to rework how I said things to her because her head was not metaphysical at all. She thought it was all pretty dumb. Matter of fact, at the end of me telling her, how this is going to go down, how we're going to do this, she said, well, I just want you to know that I think this is all BS. Awesome.
We
That's
need people
great.
like that. We need those
Awesome.
people.
Thank you.
Those are the people that keep us going.
Yes. Well, yes. And in my head, I'm going, oh my gosh, this is going to be an interesting session. Choosing my words carefully because I create my reality. And so we started her session and she's just fighting it, doesn't want to let go. I'm trying everything I can. And I'm just about to the end of my patience with this. And finally, I asked one more question. And I say, what do you see now? And she goes, well, I'm out in space. And I'm like, I'm going, oh.
Really?
And I said, she goes, I'm in a spaceship and, and I'm at the controls and, and she can tell me this and she can tell me that. And just in the most minute detail. I mean, it was amazing. It was like being on the spaceship with her. And I'm like, this is so funny because she has, she doesn't believe in any of this, this is even better. And she was going down on a planet to monitor the development of the planet. And, and I'm asking her, well, how do you do that? And she is so funny. You too, because of course she's laying there, her eyes are closed, but she like scrunches her face up like I'm the biggest dummy ever. And she is with my something device, and I'm like, oh, what's the something device? I can't remember the word she used, and she's like, everybody has it. It's like how you track all this information and send it back. Like, duh.
Everyone
like,
knows.
Thank you. I haven't heard of one of those devices before. And it was just, and then we're just off and running to the races. Then my head just going 100 miles an hour with questions, trying to grab as much as I could for her recording. And, I counted her up and she looked at me and she goes, I am Godsmacked. And I'm like, right. Right. This is it, And so, for people who would never entertain any of this, to have an experience like that she couldn't have made it up. She didn't believe in it.
Exactly.
To me, that's just gold. That's so fulfilling. It's even, I don't know. I mean, I wouldn't say it's better than for those that do believe, but it's just a joy to see people's minds blowing like that.
Yeah. And it's really amazing because that's a true testimony. That's a true testimony as opposed to, I know this is a common concern, complaint, whatever you want to call it, from people who do these sessions. They wonder, like, did I make that up? Did I make that up because of a book I read or a movie? Was it in my subconscious for whatever reason? But if you have somebody like that who has never even researched the topic and doesn't even much less believe in it, getting this information, then that tells you something. And that's interesting.
Yeah. And, that's kind of where we're at with that, the making it up. That's a left brain thought. It devalues, when you're making things up, that's your imagination, your creativity, which resides on the right side. That's where the high self or the subconscious is, where all this perfect information is we all have, but our society purposely doesn't teach us that we have access to it. It's a weird thing when something comes through that we just know, because we're not taught to recognize and value this inner knowing that we all have. So it's really, that's a thing that clients talk about is, what if I just make it all up? And I'm like, just wait and get the information. You can, if you feel like you have to analyze it afterwards, do it afterwards, but just let the information come through so that
it
you've
flows
got this.
through. Yeah.
Yeah. It's so beautiful because we all hold this knowledge, and it's just helping us get into a relaxed enough state where we can easily speak that stream of thought coming in from the right side, the high self, subconscious. And, this type of experience, QHHT, is just such a great lesson in how you access this part of you that knows everything, so that hopefully when they leave and they are listening to the recording and kind of cementing in this knowledge that they've given themselves, when they get into their world and a challenge comes up, instead of hitting the brick wall a few, 3 times before they decide a better route to go, they can quiet themselves down, ask what they need to know, that knowing, that voice, that awareness is right there, and they recognize what it was like after having the experience of the hypnosis, so that they can let that part of themselves guide them instead of this wonky fear and worry side. And bless its heart, the left side, it's growing too. It's learning to let go of fear. That's why the world's looking so weird right now, because we're all dealing with fear right now and how we want to look at it. And we're coming out of dualities. It's an amazing time on the planet. You really have to shift your perspective on this to see the greatness that's here. And I think this is why I get so excited about this. And I'm not diminishing people's fear at all. But when you can see where we're at with this leap in evolution that we're in, it's phenomenal. And when you can really get a handle on that and let go of the fear, it's amazing. And you can help others through their fear by sharing with what you know.
Yeah. Thank you so much for that, because
Beautifully
a lot
said.
of people are scared right now. They really are. People that I know, friends, family, people in the movement, people doing the same work we're doing. Some people are fear is getting the best of us, and I've had my days also. And what you just said is a much needed reminder for everyone listening right now. Because that's really why we're here. We share this information, and lately it does seem like it's getting a little darker and things aren't that great, but it's a great reminder. Like, I feel the same way. We just have to remember why we're here, remember what we're doing. And once, thank God we are a part of this awakening. So, and we do have like some foresight into the future, as far as we know that there's this ascension timeline and that we're progressing, we're not going backwards. And this is just a result of that, everything we're seeing right now.
Yeah, exactly.
And it's not perfect, but it's not supposed to be.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. No, we're a messier bunch than that. That's why we're here. It's, they say in sessions all the time, this is the toughest place to be, because it's dense, and we have this whole range of emotions from the highest of highs to the lowest of lows. And we learn our lessons through challenging situations in most cases. And, we picked to be here. So we might as well just make the most of it and help ourselves and help one another.
Yeah. And if the media wants to call us a terrorist, we'll just take that title too.
Yeah.
Yeah. Might as well.
What a weird world.
They're going to call us that no matter what we do, so instead of, we'll just own it. No.
Until they go, oh, wait, we were wrong.
Yeah.
Maybe that day will happen.
Well, they are doing it. They're saying that January 6th wasn't organized insurrection. Now they're finally backpedaling on that, after it's all done and too late and whatever. But that's how it's going to look. I think they're going to come up like down the road. They're going to be like, oh yeah, we were wrong about this. We were wrong about that. Oh yeah. Well, you sure freaking put the whole world into a state of crisis at the time, now you're just gonna be like, oh, sorry,
for months and months,
yeah.
This is what happened. And then, but we were wrong. Sorry.
Yeah. Oh shoot, I was
On to
on
the
the
next
wrong
news
page.
story.
And like 3 people saw that, and yeah, it's like, oh, thanks.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, on to the next thing. Exactly.
Yeah, yeah.
That's how it always is.
Yeah, it really is a show. We say it all the time, but I mean, it is like watching a movie. Sometimes I think the footage we're being shown is actually staged. I think it's getting to that point. Even some of the stuff that's going on in Afghanistan, we can't prove it. You know, we're in a time where we just have to take people's word for it. You know, we don't
and that's
really
where
know.
I think it's important to go within and
Mhm.
feel, does that feel right to you? Does it not? And use that as your gauge instead of what they're giving you on the screen.
Exactly, because we can be shown, but we can't be, because I say this all the time. If a UFO lands in my front yard and an alien walks out and I get 4K footage of it, 100% of people are going to say it's hoax. If I put it online, they're going to say it's a hoax. So we can't even be shown the truth at this point. We just have to feel the truth. We have to feel what's right, you know.
Right.
And then that's how we're even going to navigate, because you have to look at this footage and look at this stuff. I'm like, nah, something's off here. And don't second guess it. Like, you know, right off the bat, like if this is, you're being shown something real or not. And we know things aren't adding up, and our job is to connect the dots. And when we try and connect the dots, it gets confusing, but you know, it's the best we can do because we're not given the real story. So,
well, you know, in sessions that often advice is, you know with your heart, not with your head.
exactly.
And I think that's helping people get out of the fear loop.
Yep. As soon as as soon as we start overthinking it, you know, all hope is lost.
Yeah.
Not all hope is lost, but you're not doing yourself any favors. And we all catch ourselves doing it. You know, sometimes we know what we should do and then we second guess it, but what if? And then next thing you know, we're in a situation, and then you look back and like, damn, I knew better, you know?
Yeah.
And your high self is going, we're trying to help you guys.
But
it's because
you're not good listeners.
Exactly. But that's because your heart is connected to your soul, which is your higher self. So the true knowing is going to be in your heart, not in your head. Your head is just this kind of like utility so we can navigate this
point
3D
A to point B
realm, but it's not where true knowledge lies. It's not, you're just told things and memorizing it here, but how do you know that's true? Well, your heart is going to know. And that's right. So you got to stay in your heart.
Yeah.
Well said.
Yeah, I agree. We overthink things too much, you know, and that's just, you know, and just because you make a wrong decision, also sometimes going against your gut and you're like, oh, damn, I shouldn't have done that, doesn't mean that it was a mistake, because there was something there you learned. And maybe you were supposed to make that decision, no matter how you looked at it, because there was that lesson there for you to learn.
Oh, absolutely.
Exactly.
So don't be hard on yourself. You know, that's another thing. We're so hard on ourselves right now. And there's a lot of guilt and shame that comes along with this awakening. You know, sometimes, you know, we're in these groups of people online, wherever, and, you know, we feel guilty about some of the things we're doing in our lives just because we see other people aren't doing it, and they're at this place in their journey, and we're in a different place in our journey, just because we haven't kicked that habit yet, or we still have this toxic thing that we just can't get rid of quite yet. Doesn't mean we're a bad person. So don't be so hard on yourself. We're all at a different stage here. Right. And, you know, because I found myself doing that. You know, you try and just throw everything that you knew away from that you didn't want to do anymore.
That's because it's not about being perfect. It's about growth.
Yeah.
And love, you know, we can accept everyone where we're at if we're all in that state of love.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But
and plus growth. Those, you know, the challenging things that we go through and that fear and such, we're relatable to others, and they're relatable to us because we've had similar scenarios. So, I mean, I'm like obnoxiously glass half full, but it all helps. You know, the crappy things really help. And, you know, that's the cool thing about QHHT is that, you know, when they come in, the clients, you know, almost everybody's like, gosh, I'm a really good person, and I don't know why I had to have this crappy childhood, or I had to have this happen in my life, and it doesn't make sense. And, you know, when they can get into that nice deep state and understand the full, true, higher perspective of the situation, it all makes sense. And it's just like, you just see weight being lifted off of them because, we're our hardest critic.
Yeah.
And when you can see why things happen the way they did, and understand it's very freeing.
Yeah. Well, there is one, I said earlier, everybody has an individual mission, and it's different for everybody, but it's also not. The overall mission for everybody, in my opinion, is to tap into your true potential as a human being. That's what we're here to do ultimately. And by doing that, you can do things like heal yourself, get through the hard times, get through struggles that you never thought were possible because you know your power, you know who you are, and you know your potential.
Yeah.
And I think that's something that we all need to remember because I have to remember sometimes too, when we're going through that shit and we think, why, I find myself in victim mode sometimes. You snap out of it quick, but that's when they be like, okay, what am I worried about here? Like I have control. I have complete control over this. And then you remember who you are and you just like fill yourself with light and then flick away whatever that is trying to, fuck shit up. And then move on.
I got a whole name for myself when I'm in that mode. It's called Snarky Susie, and my friends know about Snarky Susie. And I'll throw a text out, and sorry, that was Snarky Susie. And then I just have to get it out, and then I'm like, I'm back to love and light again.
Mm-hmm.
But that's human. We all have those different sides of ourselves.
Exactly. And what did Peter Slattery say, Aaron? He's like, we lived the 5D life on other planets. We came here.
We came from there, star seeds. Yeah.
We came
come from
for the 3D experience to do everything we're talking about right now. So instead of spending our time trying to get back to that 5D,
escape this and go back. Yeah.
Instead of spending our time trying to escape, embrace being a human. And like he said, there's things we can do in the 3D as a human that you can't do anywhere else in the universe.
Mm-hmm.
And that's all part of it. And I always say, we're going to be on another planet one day, but thinking back, man, remember on Earth when we used to eat those cheeseburgers and blah, 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 and like, damn,
exactly.
We should have, but anyway.
Just the experience of being here in 3D, and it's different. Even though we perceive it as like worse or lower, it's not. It's just different.
Exactly.
It's harder because it's so dense, but it's almost that's where so much growth can happen because of that hardness and the not apparent connection, to the greater reality or to our higher selves or each other. But we can grow so much because of those experiences, and it's so unique, too. So yeah. That's a blessing.
I love how you put that. It's not worse, it's just different.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously not everyone's going to agree with that because it feels pretty shitty sometimes, but I agree. I think so. I think that's right. It's just different.
I think all of us can find beauty. If you're having a totally crappy day, you can be out in nature and appreciate what we have on this planet.
There's so much beauty and amazingness already here. It's just about seeing it and appreciating it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And remember to get out in nature, especially now,
Yes.
Get out and ground yourself and talk to the trees and the animals and observe an insect, whatever, a bird watch. That stuff is healing too, I think.
Oh, absolutely.
It's healing. I find myself doing that. And next thing I find myself knowing the daily routine of the birds around my house, like I know where this bird's going to be at this time and what, it's funny. But what does it do? It takes you out of this chaos. It takes you and it lets you and then you start observing
in the present too.
Yeah. You're being in the present. You start observing the way nature is and just the infinity of it. And, no matter what bombards a certain area, things always come back. It's a perfect example of how we should be living.
And I would just add to that the one probably most consistent piece of advice that the high self gives clients, in sessions is to meditate. Mm-hmm. And they say that's, I like to say I'm like the world's crappiest meditator, and I've had to, I've really worked over the years to get better at it. So I understand, when people say I can't meditate or my mind's too busy, but they do say it's worth the practice, even if you can only do it a minute at a time, because they say that's how that part of you that knows everything gets through most clearly. We've got to learn to quiet ourselves down and get into that right side of the brain, because then that connection opens up. And especially during these challenging times, we need that connection to help guide us. And it's within us, it's all there. We just have to be aware of it and use it.
Through meditation, we eliminate hesitation.
Ooh,
I just made that up.
That's really good. I might have to borrow that one.
It's true though. That's how we activate our bullshit meter. And that's how we know what the truth feels like.
Exactly.
It's not just going to happen. Maybe it is because we're all elevating, but if you want to really hone in on that, that's what you can do, I think.
Awesome.
So where can people find you? How can they book a session? Do you have anything coming up that you want to share?
Sure. My website is SuzanneSpoonerQHHT.com. That's where you go to initialize setting up a session with me. If you want to learn how to channel and do the talk class, it's just theartofuniversalknowing.com. You can find me on Facebook. I'm pretty quiet on Instagram. I wouldn't even try that one. But those are probably the easiest ways to get a hold of me. My sessions are out quite a ways, so if it's too long for people, I'm happy to refer them to others that might be able to get them in sooner. And it's an amazing thing. Our consciousness is amazing. It's better than outer space or the deep sea. We hold everything within us, and I really would, if it's calling to you to explore your own consciousness through hypnosis and QHHT, find a practitioner who resonates with you and go for it and see what you can get.
Yeah, I like how you put that. It's better than space or deep sea. Well, it is for one reason. You don't need to suit up and deal with all the, the environment, the hazards and the pressure and the cold. Right. You can just go naked. All right, guys. Thank you so much for, well, first of all, thank you, Suzanne. That was amazing. This was a fun conversation.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, it's been a lot of fun. Thank you for everything you're doing. And we look forward to hearing more from you. Guys, make sure you check her out. Check out her website, book a session if you feel compelled to. It's in person only. Where are you located? Did you say that?
I'm in downtown Des Moines, Iowa.
Okay.
Oh, nice.
So if you're in driving distance or you feel like flying out there and seeing Suzanne, then, you'll know if you're meant to do it. You'll get the call. That's how if we question, should I do it or should I not? You'll find yourself just already doing it if it's meant to be. So, but yeah, thank you guys so much for tuning in. Thank you for the donations. Thank you for the moderators. Thank you guys all for the beautiful comments we get. Everything that you guys are doing to support us is why we keep doing this. And we just got a comment the other day. This girl said one of our specific episodes saved her life, and she reached out to thank us, and that alone just makes it all worth it. It makes it all worth it. And I don't know what she was actually going through. She said that day the thought was going through her head, and she was even cleaning her house so she wouldn't leave a mess behind. And she watched our episode, and whatever we said turned it around for her. So wow. That alone right there is the reason why we're going to keep doing this as long as we possibly can, because there's no way I would have ever known that one of our stupid episodes would save someone's life. But anyway, I'm not trying to be a downer about that, and thank God that person pulled through. But just extending the thank you to everybody. That's all I'm doing. And with that, I think we'll go ahead and wrap it up. Have a great night, everybody, and we will see you next time.